for joining us today to get some insight into the Performance Excellence Program. I'll just start by acknowledging my colleague Candy Chu, who's the CEO of LG Professionals in WA, and Sarah Gibson, who's here from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and my colleagues Troy and Justin from the LG Professionals office. So I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a background on the program and how it's evolved over time. So the program started back in 2013 with some insights from local government people from New South Wales sitting around and thinking about how they would like to see performance measured in the sector and identifying the key areas that they felt there was commonality across the councils that we could start with. And we did a pilot with 15 councils in that first year, and it was successful, and there was definitely support to grow the program, and so it has continued on. And as you'll see by the timeline, in 2015 New Zealand councils joined, in 2016 Western Australian councils joined, 2017 South Australia joined, and the program continued on with that cohort of councils for the next couple of years. And then in 2020, we actually did some work with New Zealand regional councils to work out specific data that they needed and incorporated a small subset of data for the regional councils to, I guess, narrow in and do a little bit more deep dive on what they do in a regional council as opposed to a general purpose council. And then in 2021, we got some feedback that the program probably needed a quick refresh, have a look at what we were collecting. Was it still valid? Were all the areas still valid? So we spent considerable time this year working with councils and had some roundtables to go through the report and all the data. And we feel we've streamlined the process of data collection and uploading somewhat, and we have trimmed some areas and put a bit more focus onto some contemporary areas within the program. So thank you for taking the time today to hear about the program. We'll welcome any inquiries on any further information or deep dives you'd like to do, and I'll hand back to Troy. So thank you very much, Troy.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicky. Great. So I'm going to hand over now to Sarah from PwC. We'll actually get straight into it. So we'll have a look at who is participating in the FY20 and then moving forward what the program looks like for FY21. So thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Vicky. Hi, everyone. Welcome today. My name's Sarah Gibson. I'm a director at PwC and have been involved in this program from its inception, so very close to my heart. It's really great to have you all here to listen to what the program is about and to give you a better understanding of how you may benefit from participating in this program. To set the scene, last year we had 87 councils participate, and you can see clearly there what the dissection of that number is across the different jurisdictions, and also from a metro, regional and rural perspective. If I just start and touch on very quickly some of the key benefits that I know I've seen, and this has come from councils themselves as to what is the benefit of participating in the program. To the left, you'll see 4 sections, and they are the 4 sections of the program where we do our analysis. So workforce analytics, finance function effectiveness, operations and service delivery. And what we hear from councils at a very high level, there's a much better appreciation of the industry overview of these results. So understanding where is the industry, the local government industry at, where we look at a variety of metrics, and there's over 120 different metrics that we are able to produce from the data that is submitted by the councils. Another key benefit is much better communication with your stakeholders. You are able to have a data-based conversation about your results and be able to put forward reasons as to why you may want to prioritise a certain program or initiative, or why you're actually doing really well in an area. So let's put that to the side and let's really focus over here. So you've actually got some data to say, how do you compare to other councils as a whole, or you're able to filter and use subsections of councils to put forward your case. So the benchmarking is similar or different councils. It's in your hands that you do get a report, but you also get access to a data explorer tool that allows you to filter in more meaningful ways for your council. And then finally, one of the best things is that you get to monitor not only your trends over time, but how you are trending against the benchmark over time. And what we really like to focus on is, first and foremost, celebrate the success. So celebrate with your teams where you're doing well, and you can really see that that focus over the past year has paid off and has led to a better result, or it's met your expectations as to what you were trying to achieve. But it also enables you to then prioritise change in your organisation based off hard evidence, as opposed to a gut feel that we should focus in a certain area. So I just want to take you through our benchmarking approach and how we manage this program. So there's an overall project management and communication piece that PwC is responsible for. And at the beginning of each of the go live sessions, so we go live on the 14th of July this year to collect FY21 data. We hold up to 3 webinars that your teams can select to join. And we will go through and explain in detail the data submission process and take your teams through that. We then provide a dedicated email address and phone number while you're doing data submission, and we will provide that support to help you better understand the questions, and also if you're having any difficulty in uploading or responding to those questions through our digital platform DataKit. Data quality is a very important thing to us. We want to make sure that you are actually getting the best possible result, and that the data submitted is clean and it's representative of your council. So in the middle of the project, we provide you with a report that showcases what your data turned into in terms of metrics and allows you to view that and make sure that the raw data is the correct data and it is producing the results that you're expecting from that. So you do get a submission feedback pack through halfway through the journey. We then do a huge piece at the end, the data analytics, crunching all the numbers, blending the data, and then producing a customised report and the data explorer tool out the other end. So let me just show you. Here's an example of the data submission feedback pack. So you can see that it gives you a variety of responses, and you are able to use this to really make sure that it is accurate and you have a chance to amend your data before moving forward to the final report. Here's an example of last year's report, and we provide jurisdiction, local government highlights at the beginning of each report, and then it will go into detail where the text is about the survey population, and then you'll notice down in the right-hand corner, you'll see maroon throughout the report. Maroon is always your council's result, and grey is the survey population. So it's very easy to see where you sit amongst the survey population and be able to then tell the story about your council. We also select councils and profile them in the report case studies, and we use the data to sort of, I guess, make those phone calls to those councils. So where we see, for example, Northern Beaches had answered a question about robotic process automation in their finance function, we were able to contact them and say, it looks like from last year to this year, you have actually implemented RPA in your finance function. Do you have a story you'd like to share? And they were like, yes, we do. So we also give you some case studies because this is a collective program. This is about sharing and about leveraging what councils are doing rather than starting with a blank page all the time. And then finally, this is where the power is in your hands. So once we've finalised all of the results, you will get access in the same digital platform. You will be able to come in here and start to see your results against the survey population. And you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner an example of the filter bar and how you're able to sort of select different attributes to condense those results. So if you want to compare to New South Wales regional councils, you can click on those and then it will change those charts where it will only show councils that have those attributes, and you'll be able to compare your result against them. And then finally, we have a council comparison window. So this is a slightly extra subscription fee where groups of councils come together and openly share their results. So what I've just showed you is your result will always be anonymised. Only your council sees your result. However, if you would like to come together in a group, and we have over 30 different windows, you can come in here and actually share your results with other councils and then meet with those councils and look at charts like this to better understand how councils are managing their internal business processes and hopefully learn. They may learn from you and you can share great ideas together. So that's been a very successful initiative over the last few years. So I've got a selection of the 4 sections where I wanted to just give you a better appreciation of what it is that you will receive, because I think that's important for you to understand, are these types of metrics of interest to me and my council before you sign up. So Workforce Analytics is our largest section. It's also our most popular. So we find councils get a lot of benefit from obtaining these metrics. And what we've seen over time is councils have started to create these metrics for themselves throughout the year and actually produce it so that they can see how they're tracking just as a council individually over time. And then they obviously then participate each year to see how they're comparing to the benchmark of councils. So we do a piece on employee costs, overtime and agency staff. We look at span of control, rookie rate and staff level split within your organisation. We introduced a big piece on diversity and inclusion, hot topic at the moment in terms of whether your council has a strategy, what are the types of policies you have in place, and are you collecting any of that demographic data? We also do a lot on staff turnover rate. So we look at an overall, we break it into gender, we look at what the turnover looks like in the first year of employment of employees, what does it look like by generation and by tenure. We then flow through that to gender and generation diversity. So to give you an overview of how your council looks at the highest level down to what is the gender diversity amongst your managers, CEOs, what does it look like out in the future for retirements by different staff levels, and also what does the promotion rate look like when we compare genders. We also collect the leave balances of every employee. So we're able to then showcase to you how, what percentage of your workforce has more than 8 weeks annual leave accrued, more than 4 weeks accrued, and the same with long service leave. And with sick leave, we look at what was the sick leave taken throughout the year, and we're able to break that down into the quartiles and showcase how that differs between your supervisors and above and your other staff. And then we also collect some data on lost time injuries. So that's the Workforce Analytics in a summary piece for you. Finance function effectiveness is also a popular section, and this is where we try and get a better understanding of the role that the CFO plays and how closely aligned they are to the leadership team and in determining the strategy. We also ask you to tell us about the finance employees and what their qualifications are as to whether they have up to HSC or up to a bachelor's degree, up to a post-bachelor degree. We look at the cost of finance, and then importantly, where is the effort going in your council in the finance function? What proportion of time is spent on compliance and control, transactional efficiency, or business insights, which is really where you're getting that value add. We look at days to report and the volume of manual journals. And then another new piece we introduced in the last couple of years was getting a better understanding of the digital maturity of your finance function. So are you still operating predominantly in Excel spreadsheets, or have you moved to more a cloud-based spreadsheet system where that can be shared? Are you using data blending tools to provide efficiency, right through to are you doing robotic process automation, RPA? And so we ask you, tell us what it looks like now, and then tell us what you expect it to look like in the next 2 years. We also collect the revenue profile of your council, and then we ask you to showcase your cash collections based off rates and charges for each month of the financial year, and then we can showcase your cash collections on a quarterly basis. And then finally, your capital expenditure per resident. In operations, we focus on 4 corporate service areas, and this sort of came about, if I go back to what Vicky mentioned, where we always spend a number of time with round tables, council representatives, and a decision was made that HR, IT, finance and customer service were sort of the 4 largest corporate service areas that we wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive on. So we sort of show you that breakdown in your organisation as to what proportion that they represent in your council. We then go into IT. So we look at whether you have a strategy in place, how do you rate the effectiveness of your IT systems, and what is your IT spend per employee. We also get you to rank a number of prescriptive IT priorities and rank them in terms of importance over the next 3 years. And then another very popular section we introduced 2 years ago was cybersecurity. And so this has been a great addition to the program. So councils are being able to understand and almost being challenged, I guess, on the types of things that we would expect an organisation to have in the way of cybersecurity. So a strategy, are you insourcing or outsourcing? Who's responsible for cybersecurity in your council? What are the breaches that you may have had? Do you have an incident response plan? That kind of thing. And we are able to showcase what your result looks like against the councils, but we also provide some really helpful contextual information as well that we lean on our cybersecurity experts here at PwC to help us write that section of the report. And then finally, we ask you about online customer service, what you are providing, and then are you outsourcing or sharing a variety of different corporate services. And then finally, if I go into service delivery, we learned that in the beginning, we didn't go deep into services. This then came out of, once again, a round table where councils wanted to know more about their service areas, and we're able to, because of the granular level of data that we collect, we're able to align people to service areas, and then we can start to show you what's your operating cost per service area and what does your FTE look like, full-time equivalents per service area. We also ask you to tell us whether you're insourcing or outsourcing your service areas, and we use that by a dollar value. So we ask you to tell us for each of your service areas, what's the outsourced contract value for the year, and then what's the remaining insourced value of providing that service. And then we can provide you more granular workforce metrics by service area. So you heard me sort of say in the workforce analytics piece, we do span of control and turnover rate and gender and generation mix. In the service delivery area, we sort of go even more granular, where for your top 5 service areas in the report, you can see what the span of control is, staff turnover rate, and get a much better appreciation of where you should be focusing. You might see a generation mix where some service areas have a very high percentage of baby boomers, meaning they may have the option to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. And how are you doing your succession planning and knowledge sharing, knowledge transfer for that particular service area? We go a little bit deeper on solid waste management, parks and gardens, and roads and bridges, and provide some just more deeper insights in that area. And then we do a piece where it's relevant for your council, of course. If you provide swimming pool leisure centres, then we ask you a variety of questions on that so that you can start to benchmark your costs and traffic across your swimming pool leisure centres. I just wanted to give you a quick overview because councils do ask about what are the service areas that that we map our business units to, and so that's just a slide there to show you there's up to 36 different service areas, and of course all of those come with detailed definitions as to what do we mean by aerodromes versus roads and bridges or libraries. And then if there are any New Zealand regional councils on the call at the moment, this is the set of your specific service areas that you would focus on. So I'm just going to quickly tell you about the timelines, and then I would like to hand over to Jody from Joondalup Council in WA, and she's just going to talk about their experience of participating in the program. And if we've got time, I will show you our digital platform, but I also want to make sure there's time for you to ask questions. So I mentioned before that we launch on the 14th of July. We will, and what that means is that we open up a data kit, which is our digital platform here that we use to collect the information from you. So that will be open on the 14th of July, and I will run up to 3 webinars. They're all the so you choose which one you would like to attend and take you through, take your teams through the data submission process. Prior to that, you will be asked to nominate a project manager, and that will be the key point of contact from PwC's point of view as well as local government professionals' point of view in terms of disseminating information. That project manager will likely pull together a team of people, especially from HR, finance and IT, to help contribute to the responses. And you will have around sort of 6 weeks to go through and do your data uploads, answer the survey style questions, get them reviewed, and then you move to the submission feedback during September. If you actually submit within 2 weeks, there is no reason why you cannot jump to phase 3 and get your submission feedback back, but we just give a period of time because we know, I mean, every month is always busy, but sometimes, you know, finance can be a little bit busier at year end. So we just give that period of time. But that's not to say that you can't submit before the 28th of August. If you did it in one day and you got it all done on the 14th of July, that's fine as well. We do collect financial data, and councils often like to do a final submission of that is audited figures. So we do ask you to submit your unaudited figures during that first phase, and then you can come back in and amend any of those figures such that we close the survey off on the 13th of November, so we can make sure we properly crunch all the numbers to give you your report and access to the council comparison tool on the 18th of December. So I'm just going to pause because I know I've just shared a lot of information. I can't see, Troy, whether anyone's raised their hand or has any questions at this point.
No, not that I can see, but if anyone wanted to jump in with a question at this stage for Sarah. You're right, Sarah, it's a lot of information to take in.
Okay, why don't we hand over to Jody to speak about her experience, her council's experience?
Yep, fantastic. Jody, are you around?
Yes, I am. Hi, how you going? I've got my chat up, so if there are questions that come through while I'm speaking, I will be able to see those and I will try to respond. I'm Jody from the City of Joondalup in Perth, Western Australia. I'm the analytics lead here, and I've been involved in the program since it came to Western Australia in 15-16. City of Joondalup has been using the data and the program in a lot of different ways. Very heavily driven by the CEO at the time, Mr. Gary Hunt. And through that, we've driven a lot of other elements of analytics through the organisation. It was basically almost the beginning of our analytics journey in some ways into a whole new world. So for the benefits at Joondalup, what we found is that participating in the program provided us with insights that whilst we all have them sitting in our organisation, they might not have been brought to the forefront in the same manner if it hadn't been through this program. And that was not only in having a dedicated report that comes through to you that outlines where you position yourself against other local governments within your state or nationally, but it has the opportunity for us to actually drill down and look at a few different things. And then we have the opportunity when we get those reports to understand that while our number is what our number, and it's not that it's right or wrong, it is what it is, but it provides a little bit of context to understand that while someone may view a number such as, you know, overtime or employee cost to be high, is that really the case? And we can look at where it sits from not only from a state perspective, which is relevant to each of the jurisdictions, but also to look at where that sits nationally. And then if we get the opportunity for Sarah to go through the online tool, we can actually then filter through and actually look at, well, if that's our number, how do we compare to other local governments that might be large metropolitan local governments in Western Australia? And then we can really start to see what our like comparison is against, you know, those relatively sized local governments. We can then, if we choose to, look at that from a state perspective and look at it from those that are other participants. The other thing we've done is actually take certain elements of the report, and we've actually done deeper analysis in a couple of areas. One in the early stages was in relation to our workforce profiling. We had a really high number of baby boomers. So we wanted to understand where that sat around the organisation. And once we started digging in, we actually found a small pocket where there were very imminent retirees that were sitting in there, and we're going to potentially lose almost an entire workforce within a couple of years. So it enabled us to actually see that in an analytical perspective rather than just perhaps the visual of the workforce and it being in perhaps an outside area. And then we can actually start doing what is our service delivery program going to look like as we go through this natural attrition process with people retiring. And then can we look at an alternate delivery model? Can we look at a few other things of will we replace those people or not? And how does that look? So there was a few things that we were able to look at that way. We've done a lot of work in relation to our overtime. And thanks to COVID last year, we all look fabulous because we weren't actually taking on the events that we would normally do. So it was a little bit of a false positive last year, but we're able to.
Jody, you've just gone into mute.
No, it's just popped onto mute.
Happened again.
Okay, so I'm totally not touching my keyboard, so hopefully it continues to stay like that. So we've been able to unpack a few things and look at where it comes from. And when we start doing that, it's then understanding what's the story behind some of these numbers, why do they occur that way? And once we have that, it's looking at what is the appetite to change it? Do we need to? Are we okay with it being what it is? Or do we want to make a change? And that can result in two things. It could be that we actually do an improvement initiative to actually change the process to streamline it and create an efficiency to track the number in a direction that we want it to be? Or do we sit and look at, we're just going to monitor this on a more regular basis and then start looking at bringing that data into a more regular reporting program so that it's got more oversight than perhaps an annual view that we would normally have through the data from the PricewaterhouseCoopers program. So something else that I'll share is the workforce element. It is the largest piece of work for us to actually deliver into the program. It does take a little bit more time to go through and do the service area mapping, but it is also the area that the most amount of detail and attention needs to go through because it actually drives a lot of the program and a lot of the analytics in it. So it's really important we get that right. And then through Western Australia, we have the Benchmarking Performance Network, and we use that network to help support and onboard people into the program. And that's had really Really good opportunities to engage, to look at data collection and to support consistency in how people are applying the program and mapping staff, so that we are probably in a really good place now coming into our 6th year in the program, that the consistency in service area mapping in Western Australia has been excellent. So I'm just going to take a quick look to see if there are any questions there. Nope, there's no questions for me so far, but if you want to throw any in during the course, please let me know and I'm happy to respond to them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jody. Okay. So Sarah, we might jump online now and have a look at the data kit, if that's possible.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Jody. Always good to have you speak. Can I just check that you can see data kit?
Yes, all good.
Okay. So just to give you a flavour, I guess, of what it feels like to be a participant in this program, you'll see that we laid out, you'll be welcomed into the program. We have our timeline here. We have some sort of high level results here, and then we also give you a progress tracker, so you can start to see as your teams fill this out, you can start to see your progress, so it's easy for you to manage that. We also provide a detailed participant guide and an Excel list of questions if you want to just sort of pull that out and just have that sitting somewhere else, or you want to share that with people. But the participant guide goes through in a lot of detail in terms of what it is that we require, and we put the really important information in here. So you'll see our sections: workforce finance, operations, service delivery. What it looks like is this is what Jody was referring to is probably one of the largest question, which is where we ask you to provide us with an HR data extract about your employees that were on your payroll in what will be the FY21 financial year. And we ask a number of different attributes around that employee, those employees, so that we can do those workforce analytics, if I sort of reference back to the metrics I was talking about. So there's a number of different upload questions. We do get you to do a mapping piece of your staff levels to a discrete set of staff levels, where we have every employee mapped to either general manager, director, manager, team leader, supervisor, or other staff. And that, of course, enables us then to do consistent benchmarking right across the survey population. And we can go more granular in different metrics at a particular staff level once your council has mapped your staff levels to these one of these 6 here. We then also have, questions like your talent strategy, tick where you focus. Do you have your budget spend on training and so forth, staff engagement and diversity and inclusion questions. One of the key things I mentioned was that we really focus on data quality, and we've tried to automate that as much as possible, so that as soon as your teams do an upload of raw data, it will convert it and it will validate it in the background in the platform, and it will start to showcase whether you have mapping errors or a variety of different errors that we've learnt about over the years. And it will tell you what the error is, and it will ask you to either go and fix it and re-upload, or provide an explanation if you believe that that is the way it should be and you do not want to make any changes. And that just means we've got a great audit trail then, where we've showcased to you what we've found, you've written back to us, and that's all sort of stored in the platform. So we provide that, and you can see that if you're a reviewer, it's not really helpful to just see an Excel file. So we convert that Excel file into, well, based off what you told us, here is your opening FTE, your closing FTE. What does it look like? Male, female, permanent, fixed term, casual employees, the breakdown into the different staff levels. So you can see here that this hasn't actually, this council hasn't actually updated that yet. So there's no mapping provided. How many new starters did we see? How many leavers did we calculate based off a termination date and a start date? And we'll also show you what the staff turnover rate was as well. So that hopefully allows you to do a much more thorough review and progressive review before you even get to the submission feedback pack. So this is, okay. I do have to apologise. We are in the process of updating. We used to be in a system called DataPoint, and this is still very much work in progress. So it is still being worked on. So look, I think that gives you a good flavour for what it feels like when you come in here to submit your data. Now, once again, bear with me as I let me just find FY20 sample council. So if I close the collect, this is where we have the CCAP, the Council Comparison Analytical Tool. So this is launched in December, and you will be able to access your final report in this area. And the final report is sent to the CEO and the project manager. And so that report will be sitting in here where you will have the ability to download it from the website. And then you're able to come in here to the different types of charts, and you can start to select, and everything is color coded. Maroon is your council, pink is your survey population, and the filter is the orange colour. And so as you can see, I've got a filter of New South Wales placed. Once I place a filter here, it's a global filter and it will be replicated in finance ops. And you can see we had some different sections last year. So we've pulled out corporate leadership, we pulled out asset management to try and refine the program. And you're able to make those comparisons, and you can click here for these different metrics. This is just one type. If you want to look at the different metrics, you also are able to then go to some more detailed charts, and all of these charts you're able to actually export, and then you can actually put those into a presentation and then write a blurb about it as to the story about your council. So all of that hard work of the data visualization has been done for you, and then you're able to actually then utilize this and produce a presentation for your leadership team to tell the story for the past year. So these charts, variety of different metrics, right? Different things that I've talked about. And then finally, you will see your trend summary build up over time. So obviously in the first year, so here's an example of a council that started participating in FY15, but we show the result back at FY14 because that's the New South Wales population result. So you will be privy to the actual survey population result historically, and then you'll start to build up your maroon dots as such for these metrics over time. And once again, these can all be exported as well, where you can start to see, you know, what's changing over time for your council. So I'm just going to pause there because we really only have 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Okay, can you see that, Sarah? Are you able to differentiate between metro and regional councils?
Yes, you sure are. If I just let me just go back here to the metrics. Let me just show you. So you can choose. So we can delete that. So yes, you can go, I just want to see regional councils. Or you might want to say, I want to see regional and rural councils. And I'm also really interested in councils that have a population between 80,000 and 160,000, and they're regional and rural. So there's a number of different filters. New Zealand has their own types of filters. You can put a filter on here in terms of the road length that your council manages, or the bridge length, or your population density. There's some workforce filters, so you might want to look at what do metrics look like for other councils that have a similar, you know, baby boomer percentage as me. I mean, you can do, there's a number of different ways, and then you can also start to look at service areas and start to say, I want to look at councils that do aerodromes, because not many councils do, but I'm really interested in what metrics look like for councils that sit there, because my council also does that. And then you just hit apply filters, and then it will change all of the orange survey results for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Another question from Marie. Bottom line question, what's the cost for each council to participate? Well, I can take that one. The cost for participation from each council is based on your LGA population. So we have a sliding scale. So with the information on that, we obviously have a single sheet which outlines the costings. We do have early bird rates available as well. So if anyone would like further information on that, my contact details will be at the end of this slide. So you can flick through an inquiry from that. We will be sending out all the slides from today's presentation to all the participants as well. So Candy, is that something that you're able to manage from a WA point of view, seems though we didn't get registrations?
Yes.
Great, thanks, Candy. Are there any other questions at all? I know we've just gone over a little bit over time. Any other questions at all? A lot of information to take in. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your day. Muchly appreciated. There are my contact details on the screen. As I said, the slides will be sent out. Please don't hesitate to reach out for any questions at all. And thank you, and have a great afternoon. Thanks, everyone.